It's not even controversial anymore.
People know in Florida their freedoms are going to be respected.
Miranda, hello.
Hello.
So there's a lot of Ron DeSantis news. Obviously, he just made a trip as his first trip to the southern border as a candidate for the presidency. But related to that, there was this whole kerfuffle this week with Ron DeSantis acknowledging that, yes, the state of Florida did send some migrants to California essentially to make a political point. And Gavin Newsom is not happy.
No, he's not happy. He actually tweeted, not even in response, he just tweeted straight to Ron DeSantis saying, "You small, pathetic man, this isn't Martha's Vineyard. Kidnapping charges, ? And I think that's him alluding to the fact that these immigrants did not go like on their own will, and they were like forced to get on the plane and forced to go to California. But then there's a bunch of sources that say that they absolutely knew where they were going and that it wasn't like forced. But I think that that's Newsom's way of, just trying to make an extra point in his argument. But yeah, he's mad. He doesn't think that it was done legally. DeSantis has said it before. He thinks that our borders should be closed. And if they're going to be open, then states with sanctuary jurisdictions should be the ones to bear the brunt of that open border crisis.
Yeah, he said this at the southern border when he was there. He said these sanctuary jurisdictions are part of the reasons we have this problem because they've endorsed and agitated for these types of open border policies. They've bragged that they are sanctuary jurisdictions. They attack the previous administration's efforts to try to have border security. And I think it's ridiculous to assert that the migrants didn't get on the plane willingly and they were forced on the plane. Now, I don't know if they knew where they were going, but does anybody really think that migrants who've crossed into the U.S. illegally that get put on a private charter plane to Sacramento, California, are going to be upset about it? I don't think so. I think that's just both of them are grandstanding, obviously, and neither are contributing to actually solving the issue by doing that and by calling it kidnapping. So it's just ridiculous. Let's see here. What else you got for us today, Miranda?
So on Tuesday, the governor suspended the mayor of North Miami Beach following his arrest for voter fraud charges.
This is so fascinating.
This also goes kind of like in line with DeSantis' big push against voter fraud and making sure that people can have more faith in the voter system. But he's basically accused of voting in 3 different elections in North Miami Beach, and he does not live there.
And you were telling me that North Miami Beach charter requires that if you're going to serve in public office there, you live there. So, and he doesn't. And how far away does he live?
He lives in an area called Davie, which is on a good day, a 30-minute drive north. And it's not even in Miami-Dade County. It's in Broward County. So he doesn't even live in the county that the city that he's a mayor of and voted in is at. So he's in a little bit of trouble. He made a statement saying that he thinks that he'll be fully exonerated because he apparently had purchased that home for his family due to some marital issues. But they tracked his government cell phone and found him driving back and forth there pretty much every day. So he definitely does not live in the area he voted in. So they buckled down on him and removed him from his position. So I'm assuming the vice mayor will now take charge in North Miami Beach.
Yeah, it's interesting. And I like hearing about instances where someone who's accused of committing voter fraud is being held accountable because, we get into this whole back and forth about stolen elections or people who think the elections are perfect. There's always instances of voter fraud. And I think you have to make an example out of people who are caught red-handed doing it. And I think it's interesting. I actually don't know whether this is something that a governor of any state can do with an elected official accused of something. I've never heard of it happening, but the governor issued an executive order rather, saying Anthony D. Filippo II is prohibited from performing any official act, duty, or function of public office, from receiving any pay or allowance, and from being entitled to any of the emoluments or privileges of public office during the period of this suspension. So it sounds like, if he's exonerated, he can go back and do his job. But basically, yes, the governor's order is like, hey, you're not the mayor until this is sorted out.
Yeah, we had kind of talked about this probably a few months ago when DeSantis had taken that sheriff's duties away from him after he was saying something like he didn't want to enforce these rules that he was, the people in his state, in his county voted for him for the exact opposite reason. Now he has to enforce these state rules through DeSantis. But from what I remember with that is that our governor does have the power to remove an elected official, but that elected official can get his power back by going to like the House and the Senate and asking for a vote, if that's what I remember correctly.
Yeah.
So yeah, he does have the power to do it, but he doesn't have the power. He's not like the final say in the matter.
Yeah, I remember that case that we talked about, and I didn't necessarily like it. Because again, I think that was a prosecutor making a decision. Hey, these aren't the kind of cases I'm going to charge. And so there has to be some, I think, separation. Like there's a reason why judicial is supposed to be kept separate from politics. And so I certainly wouldn't want to see a governor in a position to just like, I'm going to use this power to suspend people who aren't doing what I want them to do. But in this case, you've got a guy who is accused of something serious, and that's voter fraud. And so I think temporarily suspending his ability to be mayor while it's sorted out makes perfect sense. So, all right, Miranda, good stuff. Must be an exciting time in Florida right now.
It's always exciting in Florida. Come on.
That's true. That's true. Never a dull day in Florida. All right, we'll see you next week.
Bye.
It's not even controversial anymore.
People know in Florida their freedoms are going to be respected.